Greetings, my excellent friends.
Bill and Ted Face the Music is the third and maybe last entry in the Bill and Ted franchise, and it is a 2020 sci-fi comedy film directed by Dean Parasot and starring Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves as Bill and Ted, and Bridget Lundy Payne and Samara Weaving as their daughters. This movie follows Bill and Ted, who are now much older than they were in the second movie, as they are told that because they still haven't made the song that will bring the universe together, reality as they know it will change forever if they don't finish the song by that evening. Down on their luck, Bill and Ted decide to travel to the future to try to steal the song from their future selves. Meanwhile, their daughters are traveling back in time to recruit music icons and form the ultimate band. So I went on a Bill and Ted marathon this week. I watched the first and second movies. Check out my other reviews on those. Anyway, I have those movies fresh in my mind. So I have quite a bit to say about this third movie because, oh man, it had so much potential and I think they could have done a much better job than the final product that we ended up getting. So the fact that this is a sequel to a movie that came out 29 years prior is pretty cool. It might seem kind of weird at first, but I think that's a situation where you can really do something powerful with that. I mean, everything is different now. Everybody changed in these 29 years. Not just everybody getting older physically, but also humor changes in that amount of time, as well as people's mentalities and societal norms. And I do like that this movie touches on that a little bit. Bill and Ted are both still very enthusiastic, and they still have some of that charm that made them so endearing in the first two movies. But like Ted says at the beginning of the movie, he's tired, Bill is too, and maybe they should just finally grow up before they lose their wives, their daughters, and the last bit of faith they have to that prophecy of saving the world that they were supposed to fulfill a long time ago.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to unite the world, and I'm tired, dude.
And that, at first, is a good idea. That's something that could be really powerful because that beat in the story is something that is only possible because it's been so long from the previous movie. But that, sadly, is also its biggest downfall. But before getting into that, let's talk about what works in this movie because there is quite a bit that works here. First of all, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves are still having fun with the roles as Bill and Ted. You can see it on screen from the very beginning of the movie and all the way to the end. They're still funny, they're still goofy, they are still charming enough to be endearing. They lack some of the innocence that they had back in the first two movies, and we'll talk about that more later on, but it's okay, they're way older now. Secondly, the makeup and the practical effects in this movie are pretty damn good, and they're also very funny. Bill and Ted as old guys, as fake successful English rock stars, as buff dudes serving time in jail, all of that made me laugh. This connects to something else I really enjoyed about the movie, and that is the characters of Dennis Caleb McCoy, played by Anthony Carrigan, and the Grim Reaper, played by William Sadler, reprising his role after almost 30 years. They were so great, and they were, for me, my favorite parts of the movie. Dennis the robot was hilarious and so random, I loved how awkward he was, and the Grim Reaper continues to prove that he's one of the standout characters of the entire franchise. He's just great and a delight to watch on screen. Also, Kelly, played by Kristen Shaw, made me laugh quite a bit. She has that perfect frustrated expression and voice down really well, which I also enjoy in her character in Bob's Burgers. Also, I love me some Jimi Hendrix and Kid Cudi, so seeing them on screen was pretty cool. Obviously, Jimi Hendrix is no longer with us, but they casted somebody who I thought did a good job channeling him, and I just love that guitar. So what didn't work in this movie then? Well, to me, as I mentioned before, Bill and Ted lost some of that innocence. And because of losing that innocence, they also lost some of their charm. And ultimately, at least to me, this movie didn't really feel like a Bill and Ted movie. I mean, if Bill and Ted don't really act like Bill and Ted, is it even a Bill and Ted movie at all then? I do understand that it's been almost 30 years and things change. I even understand why their daughters are in the movie. By the way, their daughters Thea and Billy, played by Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne, respectively, did good and they work as their daughters. But if their daughters act like copies of the Bill and Ted that we're used to, and these older Bill and Teds don't really feel like Bill and Ted anymore, then it almost feels like this movie exists simply to pass the torch to their daughters. Which is fine, that's okay, I get it. But at that point, is it even a Bill and Ted movie anymore? Do you see where I'm going with this? It just lacked that charm that the first two Bill and Ted movies had. But maybe that's the entire point of the movie, you know? Maybe the whole thing is just a meta way of saying that you can't expect something that you liked 30 years ago to still be as enjoyable now. After all, everything does die or become something else, and life is just a continuous thing that goes on even when things change. But that's just what I think. And as a movie, it's an entertaining watch. It's funny enough. And if you're a Bill and Ted fan, then you'll enjoy recognizing some things or some people from the previous movies. But as a Bill and Ted movie, it didn't really feel like a Bill and Ted movie to me. I would give Bill and Ted Face the Music a 5.5 out of 10. It's a decent movie, but a disappointing send-off to the franchise. But what do you think of the movie? Have you seen it? Leave it in the comments. And all right, yeah, that's the end of the video. Goodbye.